Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Osereme, and on this channel I share sewing tutorials and pattern drafting videos. Hence today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to go about the cutting and sewing of this beautiful dress that you're seeing right now. It's a little dress I made for my niece recently and it looks absolutely amazing. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to go about the cutting and sewing. To make this dress, you can use any fabric of your choice, but for me, for the body part, I had a doll face fabric, and then I have this lining fabric that I bought, but I ended up not using it. And then I have about 6 yards of net fabric, and I have this white one as well. It is actually soft. It's not a very strong one because this is a child. You don't want a thick one that is going to actually start scratching them and making them feel very uncomfortable. So after getting your fabrics, we are going to go ahead now and quickly draft out our body pattern. Now I'm just drafting out the upper part only. I will draft the bottom part on the fabric itself. So on this pattern paper here, I've drawn out a starting line, which is also serving as the shoulder line here. Now the length I want the half length of this dress for this child to be is 6.5. This was the measurement I got when I took her measurement. So I'm going to draw a line across this point as well. So this is the waistline basically. So I have the shoulder line here, and then here I have the waistline. So now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is from the center of my pattern paper here, I'm going to go in by my neck width, and because this is a child, I am going to be going in by 2 inches for my neck width, and I'm going to be coming down by 2.5 inches for my neck depth. I'm going to connect both into a round neckline using my ruler here. So I will just connect the both of them here to give me a round neckline. Now you can do any type of neckline that you like, but most children just do a simple round neckline. It's way more comfortable for them. Now on the shoulder area, I went in by half of her shoulder measurement. Her shoulder measurement was around 6 inches. It was not up to 7, but I decided to use 7, okay, because she has grown a bit from the last time I saw her. You know, children grow very fast. So half of 7 inches was 3.5. I marked it down as you can see, and from that point I'm just going to come down by just 1/4 inch. We're using 1/4 inch because obviously she's a child. Using 1 inch here is going to be too small. So from that 1/4 inch I connected to the top of her neckline, and then the next thing I'm going to do is from the shoulder slope I came down by about 4 inches for her armhole depth. So it was not up to 4 inches. I think I did 3 3/4, something like that. But you can use 4 inches for your armhole depth for the child, okay? So I used that and I went ahead to draw it across as well, and this new line becomes your chest line. So now from the shoulder slope, you're going to measure a straight line to meet the chest line, and here on this chest line, you're going to mark her round chest measurement. Now, for most children, the chest and waist measurement are the same. So for this child, her chest measurement was 19 inches or 18.5. So what I did was divide that into 4, and I used it to mark here on the chest line. Okay. So I also marked it as well on the waistline. Like I said, her chest and waist measurements are exactly the same. So once I was through with that, now I'm just going to connect an armhole curve. You don't need to be going in and out on this one again because also she's a child and none of that is needed. So I just went ahead to connect from the armhole here all the way to the points that I have here. And after that was done, the next thing I'm going to do is to connect the side. You will notice that I did not bother myself with a dart as well because it's also not needed. So with this being done, we're basically done drafting out the upper part of the bodice. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out, and I'll be using this to cut out both the front and the back of the dress. So I'll be showing you guys how we cut it out on my actual fabric. So this is what it looks like after I was done cutting it out. You can see the front piece here. For the neckline, I added 1/2 inch stitching allowance to the neckline, shoulder and armhole, but on the side I added about 1.25 inch. Okay, now for the back pieces, the side, the shoulder and the armhole area, everything is the same, even the bottom part. The only difference between the front and the back was that I added a stitching allowance of about 1.25 inch to the center back, and then made it a higher neckline at the back, just the same way you would draft your bodice even for an adult. So after that is done, what I did was I cut out 2 pieces for each part. So for the front, I cut out 2 pieces. For the back pieces, both sides, I cut out 2 pieces as well. This is because I want the actual fabric to also serve as the lining. So now I've placed the front pieces together, right sides facing each other with the lining, but remember we're using the same fabric for both parts. So yeah, so I'm just placing them together and I'm pinning around the neckline. I'm going to go ahead and stitch down these areas that I've pinned down on the sewing machine. Now for the back pieces, you are going to mark the 1 1/4 inch stitching allowance that you have given to the back. So you're going to mark it on both sides. Make sure to mark it first before you start doing any other thing. So I'll mark it here as well because I'm not going to stitch on these areas. So what I will do is from here, I'm just going to go ahead and pin the neckline all the way to this point that I have here, as you can see. I'll do the exact same thing for the other side as well. Make sure that you're pinning from the mark that you made earlier. So you go ahead and stitch from that mark, leaving the space before that mark open. So this is what I had after I was done stitching down the neckline for both the front and the back. Even the back pieces currently is looking as if I've stitched it all the way through, but no, I didn't. I made sure to leave that space. So now I'm arranging the front and the back pieces together on the shoulder areas, and I'm going to pin it down like this. Now make sure that the exact way I'm pinning it down right now is what you do, because you want to be able to stitch down the armhole area from the inside. So as you can see, just pick the right sides of the whole shoulder of the actual fabric and pick the whole shoulder of the lining piece, just like I've done here, and go ahead and stitch it down. After I was done making my stitch, you can see what it looks like. This is what the shoulder area is looking like. So I'm going to turn everything over like this and then use my little shoulder to turn it over, just like you see me doing like this. Now I think it's easier to just look at what I'm doing than what I'm trying to explain, because it's just like way more easier for you guys to get what I mean. So now the other part of the dress is inside this one armhole, and I'm just going ahead to pin the whole armhole together, just like you see me doing like this. So I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side when I turn this to the right side. I hope you guys understand. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine now, and I'm going to stitch this down and then turn it over to the right side and do the other side as well. So after I was done stitching it down, this is what I had. I am going ahead to just make notches all the way across so that it will be easy to turn to the other side. So with that being done, all you have to do is to just push it out like this, and you have your whole dress outside again. Can you see what it's looking like? So this is what it looks like, and when you notice how neat the armhole area is going to look like. So I went ahead to iron it out, and after that, this is what I had. So you can barely tell the difference between the front and the back. So now once that is done, the next thing you want to do is to join the sides, and we're still going to do it from the inside. So watch how I'm picking the side. So you're going to pick it just like you picked the shoulders, front to front, back to back. I hope you guys understand me. Front to front, back to back, just like you see me doing in this video. This is how you should pick your sides, okay? So even before sewing, you can see, already have an idea what it's going to look like. So I'll do the same thing here, okay? Front to front, back to back, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down. Now when you're sewing this, you want to make sure that you're sewing it with the exact stitching allowance that you added when you were drafting out your pattern. So I went ahead to stitch it down, and after that, this is what I had. Can you see? It looks neat both on the front and the back. When you're using this method of sewing, you realize that you have a very neat look both for the lining and the actual fabric. So now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I am going to measure around the waist of this upper part here to know what to do for the bottom part. Now I measured around the waist of the upper part and I got 21 inches. So now I have folded my fabric into 4 so that I can cut out my flare. So I'm going to be using that 21 inches that I got at this top to get the flare. So what I will do is I will divide 21 into 4. So I'll just do this with my tape, just like you see me doing like this, okay? So now what I do is from that point, I just use it to get like a rough curve. Once I've gotten a rough curve with that measurement, I just make a mark, okay? And from that mark, I measure to the top of my fabric, just like you see me doing like this. And whatever measurement I get, I'll use it to create a curve all the way across. Now once that is done, the next thing you want to do is to get the length of your full dress. So the half length is already 6 inches, and I want this full dress to be 16 inches long by the time I'm done with everything. So that means that the skirt part needs to be 10 inches long. So from the first line that I drew, I marked 11 inches all the way across. I added 1 inch just to serve as like stitching allowance, okay? So I'm going ahead to cut it out now, just like you see me doing. So now this is what the flare part look like, and I'm going to be joining it to the upper part, okay? So that will make up for the full length of this dress, which is going to be 16. So now I went ahead to cut out another piece exactly just like I have done on the other piece, but this one I made it shorter by about 1 inch. This one here that is shorter is the lining piece, while this longer one here is the actual fabric. So I'm just going to open up just one side of both pieces, and I went ahead to weave all the way around and just secure the rough edges, because this fabric frays a lot, just so it stays in place. Note that the lining is shorter by half an inch. Now after I was done doing that, I folded my net fabric into 4 using exactly the same length I have on the bottom part of the skirt. Although my fold is a bit longer than what I have on the bottom part of the dress right now, it is okay. So when we are done making the dress, I can easily just trim off the excesses at the bottom. So another thing I did was at the top of my fold here, I went ahead to make a gather stitch. So what I'm doing now is pulling on one of the threads to give me my gathers. This is way easy. This is very easy. It's very easy to make gathers on net. So just go ahead. If you want to fold your fabric several times, go ahead and fold it several times, and then make your gather stitch and start pulling on the gather on one of the threads to give you your gathers. So I'm going to do this until I get to the other end. Now the width of these gathers, these areas that I'm gathering, was about 6 yards of fabric. I told you guys I bought 6 yards of fabric, so I'm gathering the whole length, so that way I'll have a very full look, just like you see what I have here. So now once that was done, I'm done with the gathers. I'm going to put it exactly on the actual front piece, not on the lining. So I'm going to put it on top of it like this, right sides, just the same way you see me doing like this. So just place it on the right side of your flare piece and go ahead and pin it all the way around the waist area. So after this, what you're going to do is to make a normal top stitch from here all the way through to this side to secure it in place. So after I was through with this is what I had. So now I'm going to be joining it with just the front part of my upper layer. Note that the way that we have sewn this fabric, you have the front and the back going separately, like the way we've sewn the upper part. So you pick just the part that you want to use for the front, and you're going to pin it with the bottom part for now. So I'm just going ahead to pin it all the way across, just like you see me doing like this. So that way we will not have like a full dress. So this is what it looks like. So this is what it's looking like. I'm going to go ahead and just top stitch the areas that I've pinned down. And then after I was done stitching it down, this is what I had. So we're not done with this. We are going to work on the part where we are going to be adding to the lining part. So for this, I'm going to bring back the other flare that we cut out earlier. So this is the lining part of the flare, okay? So now this is my other net. I have just 2 yards of this. You don't need a lot of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just cut it into shorter pieces as well. And I'm going to make gathers on it and pleat it all the way around this layer. But I'm not going to be starting from the very top of the flare. So after I was done pleating it, this is exactly what I mean. So I pleated it somewhere 1.5 inch below the waist area of the flare, and I pleated it all the way across. So now, once that is done, you're going to place it right side facing each other with the lining part. Now, this is the bottom part of the lining. So I'm just going ahead to pin it all the way across. Now this is actually very simple. One thing you will notice with the making of this dress is that you're sewing front and back separately, because at the end of the day we want it to look very neat for the child. So I'm going to stitch this area down now. After I was done stitching it down, this is what it looks like. So we have the net in between the front and the back. That way the dress is not going to be like making the child feel uncomfortable. So now the next thing we want to do is to work on the zipper area. And to fix the zipper for this type of a dress, remember that opening I told you guys to leave at the neckline area. It is going to be very, very important here. So take note of that. So now I have separated the lining part from the front part, right? So we are going to be joining the zipper area of the lining and the zipper area of the front part separately. So for the front part right now, I'm just arranging it right sides facing each other, just like you see me doing like this, arranging the actual fabric and arranging all 4 pieces of net. Okay, so I'm going to start pinning the areas that I'm going to stitch down. Remember, you will always have the upper part open for your zipper, and then you stitch down the bottom part. So that's what I'm doing now. I have measured the areas that I want to like stitch down. At least you must have come down by 4 inches from the waist, so that the child will be able to actually easily go into the dress. Okay, so this is what I've done. I'm just going ahead to pin it down here, as you can see. So if I measure this from here to here, this is where I'll be stitching down, while the upper part will be for my zipper. All right, so whatever you do on the actual fabric part, you're going to replace exactly and do it on the lining part. I really hope that you guys understand this. This is the way you made this dress, and it looks like it's ready made. Okay, so I measured it 5 inches. That's what I want to sew in here as well, 5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and just make stitches on the areas that I've just pinned down. After I did that, this is what it looks like at the back, and this is what I have in front. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and fix our zipper. Now remember that opening we have on the neckline of our back piece when we started. Go ahead and place your zipper on that exactly where that opening stopped, just like you see me doing like this, and then go ahead and pin it all the way around across the zipper area. Now you are pinning it and you are stitching the zipper only to the front part for now. Don't bother yourself with the lining part yet. You're going to still do it later, but first this is just for the front part. So I'm going ahead to just pin the zipper across. The zipper is definitely too long, so I will cut off the excess later. So I'm just going ahead to pin it down, which is what I have done here. So after pinning it down, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Note please that for now I'm only fixing the zipper for the actual fabric area. So you can see I'm removing the zipper area. So just where that opening stopped on the neckline at the back as well on this other side, I'm just going to go ahead and pin it from top to bottom again. So I will go over to the sewing machine and fix my zipper only to this front part of the dress first. Then we'll come back and still fix this same zipper to the other side. That way it's going to look very neat. So this is what it's looking like right now that I've pinned it down. So I will cut off the excess zipper, of course. So I'll just go over to the sewing machine and stitch this down first. After I was done stitching it down, this is what it looks like. So you can see our zipper looking really nice here. Now we're going to join the lining side with the same zipper. So to do this, you're going to turn your dress over to the wrong side, and you're going to like have your lining part up like here. So now you're going to use the lining part, the zipper area of the lining part, to cover the zipper that you already have. So now you would stitch that area that you opened earlier, and then you will continue to now stitch the rest of the zipper allowance area. It's actually very easy to do. It's just for you to understand what you are doing. So I really hope that you guys understand this, because it can be quite confusing actually, especially when you're working on it and the whole thing is just looking somehow. So anyways, I am pinning down the lining area with the actual fabric zipper. You can see now that the zipper is now in between the both of them, right? So now I'll do the exact same thing here. I'll use the lining to turn and then just pin it down as well. So I'm just going to stitch down the areas that are pinned down, just straight stitches. So just before I stitch it down, you can see what it is already looking like. So after I was done stitching it down, this is what the back looks like. So this way, when a child puts it on, they do not have anything giving them discomfort. Do you guys understand? So this is it. This is the inside and this is the front. It's all looking really nice and neat. So yeah, this is all for the making of the body of the dress. Now I wanted to add applique to the dress to just like make it look nice. I bought 3 of them. I didn't even realize how small she was, so I ended up using only 2 because I didn't want it to look too full. So I'm just going ahead to just pin the applique to the dress, just like you see me doing like this. And after this, I am going to go ahead and start using my needle and thread to just secure it in place. Now for the bottom 4 pieces that we had for our net, Remember, I folded my net into 4. So it's currently longer than the dress itself, right? So I went ahead to use my weaving machine to just weave each part separately. So I weaved all the 4 nets separately. If you used 5 nets, weave all the 5 nets separately. So that was what I did here, and you can see how neat it looks. So I made sure to use a pink thread, all right? So I forgot to add my ropes for tying this dress at the back area. So what I did was I made the ropes now. I should have added it earlier, even before joining the site. But what I did now was to just make the rope, and I'm just using my needle and thread to just tack it in place. And I'm just going to cover the areas that I'm tacking with my applique. That way you can't even tell how I added the rope to the side. So I'm just going ahead to now stitch the applique area down with my needle and thread. This one took a lot of time, to be very honest. So if you are using an applique, you have to be very patient with it. I'm not a fan of using gum to hold any type of clothes, so I took the stress of using my needle and thread to just stitch it all the way around. So after I was done, this is what my dress looks like. It looks really cute. I was so excited actually when my niece wore it. She was so happy. I don't know how she knew that she had a new dress now. She was very happy, and it made me really happy. So thank you so much guys for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.